Acting Captain's Log, March 6th, 2016. Hey everybody, so a little bit of news that we got late afternoon yesterday. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's been working on the Sandman film for quite some time now. Actually, I think he announced back in, 2014, 2013 that he was doing this, and the news on it's been pretty slim until the last couple of days, where we found out that the same writer that did The Conjuring 2 and the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street was going to write the Sandman film. And now we just realized that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is leaving the project. Originally, he was set to direct it. He, I think, was supposed to star in it, but I'm not positive there. But he was at least going to produce it and direct it, I think. And it was looking like it was going to be his dream project for the most part. And this might have been the first time that the movie actually got made, I think, because Sandman's a thing that's been out in the ether for years now. Ever since the 90s, people have been wanting to make a Sandman movie. Roger Avery was attached to a movie at some point. There was going to be a TV show at one point. What's his name? The guy that runs Supernatural, or the guy that used to run Supernatural, Eric Kapike. I think that's his name. He was supposed to make a Sandman TV series. Brian Fuller is doing Neil Gaiman's American Gods, but I think for a while there people wanted him to make the Sandman TV series. Sandman is just one of those things that's been in the air for years now. Everyone wants to make an adaptation, and it's just never happened. And so I figured Joseph Gordon-Levitt was going to be the one guy that you could throw on this project. He'd be all gung-ho, and he'd get it done. And turns out that it's going to keep going, but not with him. Now that has me worried about whether or not the project will keep going at all without him producing, directing, and potentially starring in it. They might have to start from scratch, at least to a certain degree. All in all, the project doesn't seem like it's in good shape. It I guess, arguably wasn't in great shape to begin with, considering that we had such infrequent news about it. But hiring a writer and then losing your producer/director within the same week, I don't know how that's going to make the film survive much longer. Now, before we get too much deeper into speculation about it, I do want to mention why Joseph Gordon-Levitt said that he was leaving. He put up a small Facebook post going into some detail about it. And basically the thing was that the way DC's deal with Warner Brothers works is that the Vertigo stuff, like Sandman, would be distributed through New Line Cinema. And New Line's vision for Sandman is not the same thing as Joseph Gordon-Levitt's, and so that's why he left. And interestingly, he makes it sound like he was going for something that was very comic book faithful, and that's not what they wanted to do with it. And I don't know if there was like any sort of clash as far as like what type of story they were adapting or how far they could go with it. We don't know what Joseph Gordon-Levitt wanted to do with the movie. We just know Neil Gaiman was attached to it as well, and they were working very closely together. Whether or not Neil Gaiman's still working on the project, we don't know. It's basically back to square one, I guess, as far as Sandman's concerned. There's always been sporadic writers and directors around that movie, and nothing's come of it, and this is sadly no different. Considering that we finally had Watchmen made, considering we have 2 Avengers films, considering that Captain America and Iron Man, of all people, are some of the most popular Marvel characters out there, you would think that getting a Sandman movie off the ground now wouldn't be that difficult. But it totally seems like it might be. Now, I wasn't crazy about the guy that they hired to write it. I think his name is Jack Thorne, because he did the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, which is just not very good. It's got some clever lines here and there, but it's just overall not a very good movie. It's very generic. It's completely forgettable. And a guy that writes horror movies that are forgettable, I don't think you want near something like Sandman, which is exceptionally imaginative. Now, maybe this means that they can reassess what they're doing with Sandman. if it's still a New Line thing, I don't know why they can't just make a Netflix show. DC has lots of TV shows airing right now. It's got lots of movies in the pipeline. It might be smart of them to start conquering the Netflix front, or maybe not go to Netflix, maybe go to Amazon Prime or Hulu or something like that, and make a Sandman TV series that's about 13 episodes a season that slowly adapts the comic. Like the way Jessica Jones and Daredevil have been doing it. That might actually work out a lot better, not only because you get the tone of that right, you get the space to tell those stories, but also because you would get more room to play in that universe. You get the potential for spin-offs, you get the potential for crossovers. Sandman's one of those things that's got lots of characters, it's got lots of mythology, it's got a big grandiose nature, and even though we focus on Morpheus, even though we focus on Dream, there's so much else going on in that universe, and if you want to just tell some side stories in between the main stories, you totally could do that if you just turned it into a TV show. The TV hasn't been something that's new to Sandman. We were going to get an HBO show at one point, I think, but that got scrapped as well. So especially considering that Lucifer is on now, and Lucifer spun out of Sandman, it doesn't seem like outside the realm of possibility to make that happen. It's overall pretty disappointing to not get the movie. Joseph Gordon-Levitt might not have been the guy I would have put in charge of it, but he certainly seemed like he was really passionate about it. It certainly seemed like he grew up reading Sandman. He would be of that age, right? Like, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's not that old by the time Sandman was coming out. He probably would have been like a teenager, if not young adult, and he would have been reading that stuff. It would have been targeted more to his age group, I think. So if he's a fan of any comics, it probably would have been Sandman. So it's a shame that he's not doing it anymore, but at the same time, I wasn't sure how much I'd trust him doing it. If we're going to keep the same writer, then you're going to need a very good director to help elevate however generic the script might ultimately turn out being. Guillermo del Toro would have been a really good choice for Sandman, though I guess that's the stereotypical choice as well. And I'm sure he's just way too busy doing other stuff to do that, because he was going to do Justice League Dark at one point, and I don't think he's doing that anymore. So I don't know now who could take over the project. And there's certainly a lot of interesting comic book films being made, so Sandman would have a very good chance of being successful if you just got the right creative team behind it. So I don't know. This is disappointing. I don't know where the film adaptation is going to go from here, or whether or not we even will get an adaptation. I still say just move it over to TV, make it a Netflix show, make it an Amazon Prime thing, something like that. I feel like that'd be a lot smarter than just turning it into a movie, unless you do like a Richard Donner style, like 3-hour epic, which I wouldn't be opposed to. But I doubt that Warner Brothers, New Line, DC would want to market it that way. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, what you think of the idea of adapting Sandman, period. Because like Watchmen, that's one of those things that people just don't think should be adapted, or don't think really can be adapted, at least not successfully. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you have a choice for who should play Morpheus, if you have a choice for who should direct or write this, so if you have a dream team for this project, let me know, because I'd be curious to see it. Sandman's a comic I love a lot, and it's never been something I've really thought of outside of a comic book format, so I guess I just don't have anything off the top of my head as to who could take over the project, but I'm sure other people do. So thanks everybody for watching, and that concludes today's Captain's Log.